Matthias Wengler, who is a son of Peter Wengler. Great-grandfather, we have no other information than that an N. Wengler from Baden, Germany, moved to Baden, South Russia, in about the year 1812. It's in the book. Grandma Peter Wengler, born April the 27th in 1937 in Baden, Russia. He died October the 21st, 1921 in Orne, North Dakota. Peter married Anna Mary Wingerter, and they had 5 children. That's my real grandmother.
Oh, that's our real grandmother.
That's our real grandmother.
Wingers.
Wingerter was her name. And they had 5 children. Now this is supposed to be here. There was Aunt Barbara, Aunt Elizabeth, Aunt Anna Mary, Maria, we should say, Maria.
Anna Maria.
She was married to Fred Hilzenegger. And then Matthias and Johnny. Matthias and Anna Mary moved to America. Aunt Elizabeth and Aunt Barbara were transported up to Siberia. John,
Folks used to get letters from them, didn't he?
Yes, Pa used to get letters from them. And John, he died. And then Grandpa Peter, and then Grandma, she died in 1879.
Actually, we should have said when they came over in 1876.
She was 39 years old.
Why don't you say, of course, that my dad and all these were born? No, the dates they were born, the years they were born. So they know.
When they come over.
Well, let's get them.
Yeah, just tell them the Matthias was born, so just go down the line.
Matthias was born February the 24th, 1876. Elizabeth born August the 30th, 1865. Barbara born March the 13th, 1868. And Anna Maria was born January the 21st, 1874. And John was born September the 16th, 1878. Grandma died May the 28th in 1879. Grandpa Peter, married Julia Smith. They had 4 children, Sebastian, Gabriel, Julia, and Benedict. And then she died in 1897.
Then that Sebastian and Gabriel, they are now living.
Aunt Sebastian, Uncle Gabriel, and Aunt Julia came to America with Grandpa Peter. Uncle Sebastian and Uncle Gabriel married the 2 Solway sisters, and they went and homesteaded land from Orne
area,
and they homesteaded land up in Canada.
British, well, one was in British Columbia, way up.
I'm not even sure, up in Canada. And Aunt Julia, she married Leopold Frederick, and they lived in Pierce County. Grandpa Peter married his 3rd wife, Mrs. Birch, and then they lived with the George Birch's family at Orne. And that's where we knew them then. And then we were the
then Rose and
stepchildren.
Stepchildren
too. Step cousins. We call it step cousins.
Step cousins to
us.
Rose.
Yeah, to Rose and to Anna Mary. And there was George, and the Joseph and Catherine.
The youngest one was
Anna Mary.
Anna Mary. Where's she at?
I should know because they come in every once in a while.
And
visit with Rose. I think they're in the States someplace. Oh, but I'm not sure of the name right now. Her and her husband. Okay, that's Grandpa. Matthias Wengler married Magdalena Singer.
That's our,
7th of March in 1899
that's
in
our
South Russia.
That's our dad now.
That's our dad.
Married
now.
to Magdalene Singer.
And Magdalena Singer was the daughter of Marina Singer. I never did know that grandmother's name. She passed away when mother was 9 years old. And then mother was raised by an uncle that she worked for until she got married and came over to America. And she many times she said that she worked so hard and she was expecting wages, for some of that, and she never did hear from them, and it kind of hurt her.
Well, what about the rest of the family then when the mother passed away? What happened to them? Did you ever say anything about that? Have she started working for her uncle?
Der Weiß Josef. Man hat uns gehört vom Weißen Josef. Der Schwarz Josef ist der Baumgärtner gewesen, und der Weiß Josef ist ihr Bruder gewesen. They were about the same age. And they're both Joseph. So I think that her father raised the boys. They were younger. See, Ma was the oldest one.
Oh.
And I think that the
Her
boys
dad.
were raised by their dad.
Another for his grandpa. Great grandpa. By dad's dad.
By mother's
mother's dad.
Mother's dad. By Marina Singer.
By the singer.
That's her dad.
Oh, yeah, comes. Yeah.
And evidently they were raised there because they always talked about the brothers, And this information I got when I was down at Baumgartner's.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Then they had daughter born.
And now our folks had a daughter, that is Matthews and Magdalena Wengler had a daughter born in Russia,
Julia,
the oldest little baby. And they came to America September the 8th in 1900 and homesteaded down near Smoky Lake, down where they built there.
And when did she die?
They built did
she die as a little baby or what?
It's out in the cemetery on a gravestone.
Oh.
And then they had a little baby boy, Matthias. The little baby boy was born in the South House. He also was buried, and he died the same day he was born.
Oh, I was wondering about
And they
that.
were both down at the South House. And I remember that when our church was built, when they started the cemetery over the Fulda Parish, all these children that were born and had passed away, all these people that were buried wherever they were buried, they were all brought to the cemetery and buried there. I remember that.
Oh, do you?
Mm-hmm. And they moved them up there, the two little coffins. And then it says here, the 12th day of November in 1909, they bought the 347 acres from Willie Halverson. And that's where they built the farm.
Yeah.
And that was his wife's name.
And that's as far as I have on here,
Oh.
as far as the folks. And this is where they...
Well, there was a homesteading shed on there, wasn't there?
Yeah, now we have a picture of the homesteading shack. Where's the farm? You see the picture of the farm?
Yeah, saw the picture of the farm. And there's the hot barn. And that's Julia?
Mm-hmm.
Who's this?
Hilton Diggers.
That's Hilton Diggers.
Uncle
Who's-
Gabe's.
This is Uncle Gabe's?
Uncle Gabe's. Uncle Sebastian's.
That's
That's
the
the
Fulda
church.
church.
Here's the farm that the folks built in. I don't remember them building the first two parts. The first part, that was a 16 by 32. 16.
The other way once. Show it to the camera. Show it to the camera.
Oh,
I won't show it.
that's the Wengler farm that our folks built. Tuscarora Township, Pierce County, North Dakota.
Works good.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
I have another picture of the
Here's
house.
where's Mom and
We're,
Dad? Here's Mom and Dad.
I'll just take it until that thing quits turning and then I have to stop or it won't focus.
This is the house the folks had built, and then the homesteader's house is alongside of that as Vorheisel. Where the door is, where you enter here, that was moved against there. That was the Vorheisel, the entrance. And these were the children that were born and raised, at that time. Then we have the other place. I could be wrong on that. I said I'm wrong. I might be wrong on that.
Other place. What other place? That's Mother and me.
In the church.
Are you talking about another place? Huh? That's all
That's all that's there.
That's all that's there as far as
Well,
homeowners goes.
But anyhow, that was the homesteader shack. And then they built the lane. Now, I remember do you remember the house? The kitchen?
I remember when we left. I don't remember way back. I don't remember this.
But you remember when we lived there.
Well, I
You were married to
remember,
the
but you talk about this shed that they put in,
The-
I remember this Vorheisel, with the vines on there when we come in.
Yeah.
It was the,
See, and then that was in about 1915, 1916, when they built that lane on and put this porch on there where the vines grew around then.
and then when you come in after this, there was this place where you had the separator.
That was that partition was divided into 3 rooms: the folks' bedroom, and then our bedroom where we girls slept, and then the front where we had the separator.
That I remember, but I don't remember.
But see, this here was still the other. Yeah.
So, yeah, then that's the summer kitchen.
And the summer kitchen was moved over here for a summer kitchen.
That I remember.
I was about 6, 7 years old, 5, 6, something like that.
And you said you remember Grandpa. He died. See, I don't remember him.
Grandpa
Yeah.
Wanger died in 1921.
Yeah. See, I was just 2 years old, so I don't
Yeah.
remember him. But she said she remembers him.
I remember so that was the same time when Uncle Gabe died up in Canada.
Oh, is that right? Folks went up
And
for that.
and the folks went up for the funeral.
Yeah.
And then Grandma and Grandpa, they stayed with us kids. And they were sitting alongside the summer kitchen there, and Grandpa was eating his apple, with his spoon. He didn't have no teeth. And Grandma, she made those great big noodles. And as kids, we would play games, run from the summer kitchen over to the barn and back and forth. And we'd come back running over there, and we'd grab a noodle and run again. Yeah. And then shortly after, they put this here on too. They had good years there in the early 20s. The years were pretty good, the crops and things, until the
30s.
until 29
29.
when we had the market crash. That's when the wheat went down to
To what?
19 cents, 25
that
cents a
right?
bushel.
Is that right?
And the folks, they had a pile of grain from the summer kitchen over to where you drive in, that curve, that was all a great big pile of grain. They had so much grain that year. And then
Sad,
the market crash and everything is. Peter and Joanna got married that time, Jenny, that year.
I remember them getting married, but I don't remember that
It was in 29.
grain pile. As we went down to Esmond and when they got married down there. I remember that. Yeah. And then what? What else do you know from way
Well-
back then?
Start moving up the line. That's
Well, Pa, he raised his own horses. That was his stud there. And of course, that was our transportation, was the little buggy that we used to go to
Go to school
the
with?
German school with. Yeah. Not with this horse, though. And there's a cat sitting on the tank in there. And then they built that lane on. I remember when they built that lane on there.
Where'd you guys go to school?
Brazil #1.
Where's that? Where?
Where I went to school.
Oh, is that
They
where you
went
went
to
to?
school? Yeah.
But when we went with the buggy, we went over to the church. And we had
Which
barn,
one?
That barn that Ann was
We
talking
did
about.
show you the barn.
No, this one.
Did we?
Isn't this your, didn't we show you the barn?
I don't-
Whose barn is this?
This is Pius's barn yet now.
Yeah,
Dad's barn.
yeah.
He built it.
Okay.
No.
How did you get to school and to walk? Riding the buggy?
To German school, well, every summer after grade school, public school went out, we would have a month, it was 4 weeks, June was catechism. And we had a John Wohler that taught German. So we had German, with everything in German, and we know the ABC, and I still have my books.
Say 'em. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I,
J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
I don't know that. Finish it.
I don't know either.
Aha, you forgot.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P,
L, U, T, K,
Q,
I
R,
didn't
S, T,
remember
U,
there.
V, W, X, Y, Z.
Excellent set.
Right.
Now you got the German ABC.
I should not have started singing it.
Then when you started going to school, you walked to the school, to the public school?
To the public school, we walked. And we walked, with the farmers. And the school was about a mile and a half across the
Yeah,
coolies.
3 miles around. I know. I walked it.
We walked it.
Walked it all the time.
And we went through our pasture. And that time we had cows in a mean bull. And Laris's pasture, and he had a mean bull.
Mean
And
bull,
Oxendale's
right.
pasture, and he had a mean bull.
You probably walked
Then we
fast.
got up to Halverson's, and they had a mean bull.
Oh, we didn't walk that way because I always walked with Triss. Triss and I were going to school, and then we always walked with Triss. And 10 to 1,
Oh, you
her
had
mom
the
would make
Trisses.
groomcock or something, and
Oh.
I did one of those. And then she'd walk with me down to the fence where their bull sometimes was. And then she'd go home, and I'd go my way across there. But in the spring, when there was this coolie that run across, and then we had to walk clean around the whole 3 mile round because we
Yeah.
couldn't go across it because of the kind of the water and the
Dodge
ice.
the water.
So it was a long ways.
Yeah.
We walked a long ways.
In the winter time, I don't remember, so I don't expect you to remember either, that the boys drove, because we
Oh,
had
that I don't
we had the
remember.
horse barn over there, where the horses were put in, and but then when the boys were out of school and then we walked, unless Pa gave us a ride with the bobsled.
Unless it was very, very bad out
Very,
there.
very cold, and then we went with the bobsled, and that's when we used. Here's the bobsled and the team.
But when we went to school, it wasn't that. We didn't go to the bobsled. We walked. Pies and I took the compass, rain or shine. We took that compass and we walked to school every day with it and home, with the compass,
Oh,
so we wouldn't get lost.
when it was storming.
But
Yeah.
we were in school.
But Pa used to haul us then, with the
Yeah,
bobsled.
when I up to a certain age, I remember that he hauled. But after we got older, into
after we
sixth,
were old, yeah.
6th, 7th grade, 8th grade, those
Yeah.
we walked
We
it all the
walked,
time.
How many was in your grade?
Tress and I.
2? In
2 of
yours?
us, and Pius and Esther were in his grade.
Oh.
Well, except for the time when, what was her name again? Jane, Leith Green. The Greens lived there
Greens
1
lived
year.
there, uh-huh.
1 year.
Or
And
Spade
then,
and Pat and Jane and
yeah, Jane was in our class.
That's, uh-huh.
Yeah.
What time did you start school? 9 o'clock? Remember?
9 o'clock we started school, and when Pius and I were the only ones going to school, then Pius, we had to be there by 8 o'clock, and because he was a fireman too, we had the schoolhouse warm, so by 9, the school was warm. And at the same time, he was also trapping. Pius was trapping. He'd set the traps, so in the morning when we go to school, and in the evening he'd check it out. In the morning when we go to school, we had to check these traps out, and then he'd have skunks, And then he'd shoot them and he'd kill them. And he got to school and he'd stink so bad that he had to go home and change his clothes and come back to school again. He did a lot of trapping too, and I used to skin him, and I had to go out and help him skin
You
them.
get a little extra spending
Yeah.
money.
Did you play any games in school?
Oh yeah, we did a lot of game playing.
Andy I over.
We had pom pom pull away, and wrap their handkerchief, and then we had swings
We had
in
swings.
there.
Then what's that pole swing that we flew around like that?
I don't know. I was trying to think
That's
of that.
something.
Yeah, that's okay. Do some actions. And
Yeah.
It was just
We used to hang on it, you know,
Yeah.
it was just a rope on a one pole, and we
Yeah.
used to hang on it, and then we would run and we'd let it go. We would swing around.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah. And what we did in the winter time, you know, at that time you'd have a lot of snow, and in February you always had this spring thaw, always a big spring thaw, and then these little lakes, you know, they would get full of water, you know, and then it'd freeze again. And then we'd have our ice skates, and during noon hour and stuff, we'd always go down, you know, and skate, or at home, you know, go down and skate. And then I'll never forget the time when we had froze, you know, the ice was thick. Then we had the spring thaw, and it was quite a ways in. It got thawed again, you know, and then it froze again. And of course, us kids went out skating. And Triss and Esther, you know, all these guys were skating. And here Triss was skating, and she fell down right beside where the deep ice was. She fell right down in. And luckily Pius was there and pulled her out, or she'd have been a goner, you know. But, so then we went out the other way. We're coming down to this lake, that one pond there, was this hill there.
That was the
coming down
hill
there.
we used to go up
Yeah.
sledding on.
And then was the fence was there coming down, and Lester Halvers, and he was going to be smart, you know, because this icy, and he was going to turn under the fence and get to the other side. He slid himself all the way like that. He had the scars to it.
Well, they used to get together, make rubber ice too. You know.
Yeah, we'd always do that, make the rubber ice.
They'd get 4 of them alongside of each other, and they go over it and back. Pretty soon it would wave, see,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that was fun.
then we'd all of a sudden it'd break through and somebody would fall in.
Things that.
Yeah, that rubber ice, that was something else.
Yeah,
Nowadays you don't have that, and we always had that winter thaw. Had all that snow and had that winter thaw. Yeah, and then we'd get water and the ice skates
we
on.
go way up on the hill. At that time, we had a carry-up sled, you know, way up to the hill and slide down. We go way up and down over the lake, you know. Oh, that was fun.
What else do you remember about the old times?
What kind of clothes did you wear to school and stuff?
Well, we wore underwear. In the wintertime, we wore long underwear, of course, and we had
And
brown
long
stockings. Brown stocking. We had a garter belt.
There was no pants at that time.
There was no pants at that
We
time.
had
We wore a garter. We had a garter belt that went over the shoulders, elastic over the shoulders,
Yeah.
and held our garters up. I mean, our stockings up real nice, and we had
The one on this side is me
That's
now.
gonna be
That's the
hard.
way we were dressed. This is when we were in the choir.
Show up.
We had a long furry coat and a cheapest cup and high-heeled shoes. I was probably entering my teenagers at that time. And that was Pa. He was the leading tenor in the choir.
Oh.
And Uncle Fred is on there. Walter Hilsendigger, that would be Eddie's father. Mrs. Mattern, you remember her?
Of her.
She used to live on Main Street, and she used to make the
Yeah.
flowers for many weddings and things. I don't know if she made any for your weddings, did she?
I
Mrs.
don't
Miller.
think so. No, she didn't make any flowers.
Exman made the flowers for your weddings, didn't she?
I don't know who made the flowers. We bought our flowers. We had fresh flowers. But they used to come over a lot. I know. You guys and Matterns we're always communicating back and forth.
Oh,
if
we were
playing-
together all the time.
Oh yeah, forget.
What'd you do for entertainment, you kids? Play cards? Or work?
Oh no.
We done both.
Well, if I say it all here, I'm going to say from my side.
No, go ahead. What you did at home?
What we did at home, when I remember when we were growing up in the wintertime, Pius and I, we'd have all this snow in the trees there, and we'd take the sleds out after milking and stuff, we'd go out in chores and have supper, then we'd take the sleds and go sledding down, and so
And
whatever time it
We
was.
would dig houses in there.
Oh,
Remember,
yeah,
make those
dig
holes in there, we'd
houses,
crawl
yeah.
in, make houses. in
But
there.
then you come in and then you were cold, and so what you did, like I said, the oven was the old cook stove, and you'd open up the oven
And
door,
stuck her feet in
and I
there.
put a chair in front of there, and I'd lay on the oven door and there, and I'd stick my feet in, and that's where I would lay, and Pius would lay underneath the stove and get warm. We had the closet was over here, or the cupboard, what do you call over here, and he'd sleep over here. And when in the summertime, we would, oh, it was beautiful out, after work, and when you were out working in the summertime, you would go and, we had, I don't know what you call it, but we had a little pocket knife, and we'd throw it up in certain ways that it would fall. I think it was a 2-room. You would count points. And we did that a lot. Did you do that too? Yeah, we did that. Did you remember that?
Yeah, we toss them this way, and
Yeah.
we toss them this way. And
Yeah.
A sharp knife?
Yeah, a pocket knife.
You'd open all the blades.
No, not all the blades, just a
One
couple
of
of
them.
blades.
A couple of
Yeah, so you twist it like that,
The
and
way it
into the ground
lands,
it would go
that's
in.
where you
Then
count.
you got a point.
Yeah.
Well,
That
have you
was
got a
fun.
knife? Just with the table.
Yeah, I have one.
It was a little pocket knife is what it was.
Yeah.
And then you take it and make the dirt, kind of soft, like because we were sitting out in the hill in the prairie there, so it kind of softened it and stuff. So that was some of the things. And of course, we did play cards. And Mother, I can always remember, I'm sure you do too, and at first I can remember they were sitting in the living room and Dad would read the Bible, especially during Lent all the time. And
All
he'd
the
always
time.
read the Bible to her in the evening.
And then pray the rosary
And
and,
pray.
pray all the litany.
Yeah.
And then the 5 wounds prayers. And
Oh, I don't remember all that.
oh yeah, we always prayed the litany of saints.
But I do remember when we were kids and we were upstairs in the house and they had the numstock.
And then they had the crate there in the living room,
Yeah.
on top of the living room. Where
Yeah,
they
but it
closed up.
wasn't our.
But we opened it up
And we looked down.
and we listened.
We listened.
And we
And they were singing German songs
Yeah.
like crazy.
I remember that upstairs, that was divided up in 3 partitions too when they built that house. And I imagine that the girls slept in the back bedroom before they died, but I don't remember them. I do remember myself sleeping in the middle room, and it was just, come shakes like that, and there was just a spring mattress there with corn husk mattress, and that's where we kids slept. Of course, when you laid in there, it crackled, And Pa, and that boy slept on the south bedroom all the time.
That I
was their
remember. But
bedroom.
did I sleep upstairs too? I don't remember.
I
sleeping.
don't remember
I
you,
don't
but I
think
did.
so.
You weren't born yet.
Oh, that's good.
How many years difference is there?
6.
How old are you?
Yeah.
Gee.
Oh, you're not good at...
Well, sure. I'm not ashamed to tell them how old I am. What am I?
What?
I'm going to be 79 next month.
And I was 73.
Yeah, and you were 73 in November.
Well, somebody will
November
want
the
to know.
1st.
Yeah, somebody will want to know.
Yeah,
So
November the
they know,
1st. Yeah,
that's what we are.
that's
yeah.
what we are. We were 73.
you-
1919 I was born.
Yeah. Do you remember that was during the 20s there, we did have good crops during the time, and in the fall, the folks would always buy, Dad would take a load of grain to town, and he would buy 10 sacks, 100-pound sacks of flour, and the sugar, 1 or 2 sacks. I always remember one. They may have been 2 sometimes because it lasted. And then he would bring these 25-pound bags of
Dried fruit.
dried fruit.
All the time. We'd have prunes,
And-
apricots,
and
apples, and peaches, I think.
Well, we had the 3 of them.
Well, maybe the
Those were
apricots and
our
apples.
favorite ones because Ma always
Yeah.
made the kuchen with that.
Yeah.
When she made bread dough, she made kuchen and grumber soup.
Yeah.
Bone soup for Fridays. Oh, that was good. With all that.
And Mother-
and
yeah.
that was our treats, when we get up there, there
Mother
good.
had a very big garden, and she'd sell fruits and vegetables, cabbage. She'd sell it to different people, and she'd take it to the stores in town and sell it. But we were very fortunate. We never had no want.
No,
We never had no want. Mother always had the summer sausages downstairs and the cheeses. We had the big cheese, but we never had no. We were
had
never
plenty-
what you say
plenty to
poor.
eat,
We were
yeah.
probably never poor. We always had plenty of goodies to eat.
But see, they grew up like that in the old country when the Germans
Yeah,
went
you
from,
said that.
when the Germans went from Germany down to South Russia, and they built up these villages down there, like we say, we got the names there. And Ma, she was raised by her uncle, and they had a big orchard. They planted grapevines, and it was right alongside of the river. The name is right in there. And they raised fruit and vegetables, and they made wine, and they sold it. And that's where she used those willow baskets. You have seen those. You're familiar with seeing the willow baskets that Mother used to make?
No,
Don't
she
you remember
wouldn't know.
them?
Yeah,
She's gonna go get them.
they were just the willows. Well, there's one of them.
Alongside of the
Yeah,
ditches,
she
every
was
year Mother would make willow baskets. I have a big one in there, and they were bigger, and then she had a handle on both sides. And this is the one that she used to gather the vegetables and
You can put it in front of you, that's fine.
Well, it blocks.
Yeah, blocks your view.
yeah. And this here, and then, like I say, in the fall they would make these baskets, and then during the summer they would use it. So, and then when they came to America, and Dad, he was very educated in trees and shrubs and fruit trees and things. He's as good as anybody.
Yeah.
He knew
But
how
when
to climb
Dad,
the
but
trees.
let's go back a little bit. Dad didn't come over with Mom.
No, Dad came over later.
He come as far as Hamburg, which was the departure place for Europe, for America, and he had sore eyes. And is him and Mrs. Hilsendinger are the only ones that I ever know that I ever heard of that had these kind of eyes.
They had a inner hair growth inside of their lids, like we have the hair lash coming outwards. They had the outward ones too. They also had one on the inside of the lid growing backwards. I never heard about it
But
as
then,
far as what it
yeah.
is, but that's what both Mrs. Hilsendinger and Pa had. I pulled them out for him many times. They grew so long you'd have to pull them out.
He'd be so sorry you couldn't see anymore. They get all red, and
They were-
then you would go like this and take the tweezer, and you have to pull these hair out on there.
Mother would
And
take
yeah.
the lid upwards, and then she would take a knife and she would hold the hair and she'd pull it one after the other like that. Then when we were big enough, when I was big enough, you too,
The
we used the
tweezers.
tweezers,
Yeah.
and we pulled them out for him all the time.
So he had to stay in Hamburg 3 months later. So Mom come over with the baby
in her pack.
and a pack, and she came. I still don't know. She come by train. Did she come by train to Harvey?
She came by train, and they all came by train at that time.
The whole bunch.
In bunches,
And she stayed with whom?
with the Rosie Keller,
And how did she know her?
probably from the old country.
Was she must have been older than they were or something?
They must have come over before they did.
Anyway,
Because I'm sure that they knew her from the old country.
when Dad come over, what did he have? How much money he had?
I don't
Three.
know.
What did they say? Very
Very little.
little money did he have when he came back. Last time she used it those 3 months he had to stay in Hamburg, you know. And then I suppose they come by train over here.
As far as Harvey, I'm sure they came
Yeah.
by train.
And then they stayed there till spring with them, I believe.
With the Kellers.
With the
They stayed
Kellers.
until spring.
Until they homesteaded them.
And Mother, she would talk about, she had this little baby, and she would wait for Pa to come, and she'd wait for Pa to come. She says, this one day, it was a lot of snow out there, you know, like there's snow out there. And she saw him come walking towards the farm, and she ran out to him and meet him right through the snow, she said.
Why did they settle in the Orne area?
Probably because a lot of the other land was already homesteaded, spoken for. Or that land down there at one time was very productive too. Good sand, as long
They
as
said sand thrives, grows
Yeah.
fast,
Yes.
heats
Yeah.
up fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
they
don't.
had real good crops down there in the earlier years.
If you get enough rain and the sand produces better down there.
Now they
Heavier. But it runs out easier, dries up faster.
they built their sod house, and did they build on enough room to have a cow and a horse or something in the back, or was that on? Did they build one of those or didn't they? Did they have their animal in the same
In the house.
house when they built their sod house
That
down
I
there?
don't remember about the sod house.
Well, Mother used to talk about the sod house.
Yeah, she used
And
to.
she says they would put the weeds around which lake were they around?
Smoky Lake.
Smoky Lake, okay. And she would take them and she'd bundle them up, you know, this is what they burnt then,
Yeah, there was the burning fuel.
the burning fuel, and they would tie it up and they'd store that. And then in the spring they would go out, and when the ducks had their eggs out there, they'd go out and pick their duck eggs, and that was their eggs, you know, that they used. And also then they would use it for food, you know,
Yeah,
that.
and for their cooking, they had the black kettle.
Yeah, still had
And
that.
she said she'd go down to the lake and get water and heat it up, and Pa went down and shot whatever he could shoot, the ducks or geese or whatever they could find. And when he'd bring that home, she'd scald it and dress it, and she said, "Just put clean water in that kettle and cook the meat in there again." And they made dumplings with flour and water, whatever they had.
Yeah.
And that was their meals.
Then they lived down there just 1 year?
No, they were down several years.
Several years?
The 1 year that I remember her saying, they from spring until fall, all their expenses all the money that they spent was $15 for their food and for their clothing and for everything. $15,
Well, you can must imagine they didn't buy very much.
I'm sure.
No, they didn't have any money, let's
If they
face
had
it.
their salt or whatever.
The salt and the flour,
Flour,
whatever they
flour,
needed, and I suppose so. Yeah.
Why did they move from Smoky Lake to the other place then?
Well, they homesteaded up here then. Farm, Pius's
They
farm.
bought this place
They
up
bought
here.
this, yeah.
They bought this
the place. And
I didn't realize it was that many years, but when I was going through my papers and I was out of the town, or that information is not here because it's the other town, the other county. I stopped at the town or courthouse, and I have that all written up someplace, where they homesteaded and the description of the land and everything, and what year they bought the Hulverston farm then. That they bought that in 1909.
oh. That's,
I imagine they did not move up there before they bought it. I'm sure not. So from 1900, when they moved to America, 1901, until 1909
Nine.
would be about 8 years that they lived down there
they
then.
lived in that little sod.
Well, according to my figures that I got the information.
Well, I
then, it
suppose
would
they
have
didn't
been
have
that
anything
long.
more until
I didn't realize it was that. So Peter evidently could have been born down there.
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, there was 11 of us, and six of them have passed away. You know more how they were.
Julia, the first baby they had over in Russia. They brought her over with her. And then Matthias was born
And she died how old?
several months. Now that's in my book too.
Yeah, but you want to get it
But
on
she
tape.
was- I
They
don't-
want it on tape.
Or that I don't know.
Oh,
Well, that's okay. That's okay if you don't know. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
She passed away, yeah.
She passed away. I think she was a little better than a year or something like that.
Well, she must have been if they brought her over and she had her with her
Yeah.
down there.
And then Matthias, he was born and died the same day. And that was when they were living down there. Now, if they had Julia,
They had two Julias.
two,
They named another child Julia.
yeah.
But she grew up to be, what was she? 16? 16, 17?
This is our older sister that, and this is your picture here.
Yeah, there's a couple other ones here.
I have duplicates of this one.
Yeah. Well, there's this here one. This here one is no, not this one here. This here one is mine. I remember.
That's
and
Julia,
this-
That's
your older
Julia.
sister?
Well, we'll do this some other time. But then
That's Julia, your older sister.
That's
This is Julia.
the oldest one that survived.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
her.
yeah.
Her first communion picture, and she died when she was 17. She had
She died of
appendix surgery.
ruptured appendix.
These are the 5 children of when you brought.
So the two older ones had passed away, and then these two girls passed away then. When I was 8 years old, this one had surgery and this one fell down the hayloft.
Was that
fell
Magdalene?
on the cow mange.
Magdalene?
Magdalene fell on the cow mange.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we were kids playing upstairs in the barn.
Oh, I didn't
And
know
she
that.
fell down and she fell on her chest and she had internal injuries.
Oh,
So they died within a year there.
I knew they died within here, but I didn't know what
Yeah.
she died of.
And then little Johnny, he died of pneumonia. So then we had Pius and Elizabeth.
And then Rosalie.
And
Rosalie was 2 years younger than me. And she died when she was 2 years old.
and she had pneumonia.
She had the measles, did they say, or what was it?
Well, whatever it was.
And then with the pneumonia, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. So of these here, there were 3 of them that grew up. The 3 of us here.
But they're
And then-
all buried over in the Fulda Cemetery.
They're all.
There in 2 graves. There are 2 people. And they're in
Why?
this. Well, I think when they brought up from the different cemetery or something. Why are they in the 2 of them
You
in?
build them, put them on top of each other.
Well, whatever they done. I mean,
Years ago in the
Years
old
ago, they
country,
used to do that.
the 2 babies they have in one grave of the grades, Margaret, there's for the two of them, and then Julia and Macmillan, they're in the same grade, because they died within such a short time, we just put them together. And they had the stone with their names on there.
In the old country, they'd done a lot of that, burying people on top
On top of each other.
In
Yeah.
fact, they had whole families sometimes were like 6 or 8 of them in one grave, top of each other.
Uh-huh.
Of course, I don't think they used any boxes or anything, they just put them there.
You know,
Out, or did you
I
work
worked
at
at
home?
home all the time. You
Did
see,
yeah.
Okay.
You went to
See-
eighth grade and then you
my
start
two-
working, huh?
Yeah, my two sisters passed away when I was 8 years old, so I was the big girl. And I went through my school, and of course with the chores.
Then you worked?
It was always the chores to do and the milking.
What'd you do
And I
when you got
crochet.
older?
I got done crocheting.
Crocheting.
And as I got older, I was out helping Pa.
Then you worked in the field, huh?
All the time. We done the shocking and the haying and the corn hoeing.
Tell me.
Pa had 40 acres
Yes.
of corn every year. He had
Yeah.
it checked.
Yeah, and guess who rode the horse all that while?
Yes, and
Me.
and so
Well, you got the easy
Day
job.
after
You rode the
day
horse.
after
you know.
day.
guess who handled the hoe? You know, we would
Yeah.
hoe, and
You had a hoe on the row.
Pa was good that way. 4th of July, we had this Barney Bailey's
Circus.
Circus.
circus, the Ringley
Yes.
Brothers Circus in here in town all the time for a few days, the big tents, the 3 big tents. And if we got the cornfield done, then we got to go to the circus, and he gave us money for that, you know. Boy, those cornfields. I couldn't keep my hoe like this anymore. You know, I'd hoe like this, you know. I'd come and drag it like
Oh,
this.
you drive.
I still hoe like that. Clem was going to cure me of it, but he couldn't.
Well, I was very fortunate when I was growing up because I was the youngest, and well, I'm not the youngest, but anyway, I was the youngest. And the folks, they would always go to town on Saturday afternoons.
And take the cream and the eggs.
And I always got to go along. And so they gave me 20 cents or whatever it was. It was 10 cents to go to the movie and enough to get me a
popcorn.
popcorn. And that's what I did, and I always got to go to the library and get some books to read. That was my thing. I always read
We done a lot
books.
of reading. We
A
got
lot
books
of
from the
reading.
library.
So that was my thing. I always got to go along to town every Saturday and got to go to this movie. But he didn't get to go to the movie until right before we were married.
until Pa got radio. Then she
Then
was sitting
I
in
was
front of the radio, and she had her books.
And I have all those songs written into those
Ma
old
used
books.
to say, dragging this thing up this so loud. So she'd sit right up there with her ear against there, and she would write all those songs, and she still has those
I still
books.
have those
And at
songs.
that time, I was wondering what in the world is the matter with Ma that's so loud I can't hear it, you know. I know now.
Yeah.
But Dad would sit over there by the window and he'd read the newspaper. Mom would sit over here. She'd be eating sunflower seeds.
And he would smoke his pipe, and the smoke would curl like that. And, you know, he had that spittoon sitting there in that corner.
I didn't ever have to clean that out, thank God.
I had to clean that thing out every Saturday. Oh, no. I done a lot of crocheting then I have a lot of my items that I crocheted before I
And
was
I never
married.
learned how to crochet. I just
And you
did
never
embroidery. I
learned?
was sitting in front of the radio. But let's go back a little bit there when we used to have Christmas, when we were small.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the name stays.
And the big
and then
names,
Hilsingers and Jacobsons and not
No.
not Jacobs.
Key-singers.
Key singers we get together,
Key-singers,
you know. And
yeah.
who else was that one couple?
Für die Ludwigs, für
Ja,
die Partners, und für die Jacobs. And
Okay, it'll.
Where did we leave off in the fun part, or?
I was going to show her some of the things I'd done, because you want to know what I'd done when I
Well,
was
Oh, okay.
that-
Okay.
all
While
the-
you're
all
doing
the-
what you done, I'll have to say what I did when I went to when I was being confirmed. We lived there 6 miles from Fulda, and all those 2 weeks I walked 6 miles every morning and every night
Oh, jeez.
to get my schooling. And then when I was going up in Fulda, I taught the catechism after school, after church, I should say. And when we go for going away, Pies and I would take the buggy and go over to what are they?
Swans and
Well, not down to Schwann's, but to Barbara Burkhart's. We'd go to Burkhart's. Vincent Schwan would come over there and stuff. We'd play ball, played baseballs and stuff over there. Go to the dances. We'd have all these house parties we go to, and barn dances. I'll never forget the time we went over to we shouldn't say anything about our kids coming home late, because one time we did come home at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Well, we won't show this to you. 6 o'clock in the morning!
Then we went over to, what was that? Remember?
I don't know, that was your territory.
No, that was you. You took me there.
You're a little bit ahead of us now. You're into...
Yeah, how'd you get him already? What did you do before him?
Wow,
We don't want to know about him yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
We want to know.
We're still at Ann, too.
Shows what she did for him.
Show us
Okay,
some of
okay,
your
what you got?
crocheting.
What I done? Well, what did we guys do? I wanted to go for a nun
I didn't.
when I graduated.
And I
from
didn't.
eighth-
I
from
could have,
eighth
and I
grade.
didn't.
And, of course, I was the oldest one at home, and Pa said, Ma needs me at home. So then I went and started my trousseau, my hook chest. So these are the things I done then in my spare time. Evenings with my feet sticking in the oven, like she said. Pastime. Before that, when we were little, we had the round heater in the living room. And
Every Saturday night, they take the tub in there and warm up the water out in them, and that's where we had our weekly bath. Yes,
another one.
behind
This
that
one-
stove.
this one you can't see the print, the embroidered much anymore, but did you know that the crocheted stuff is still there, where the embroidered stuff is worn off to some extent? And this is from my teenage years.
Beautiful.
This is
Then she learned how to tat on there. I used to learn
this
how
is
to
a little
crochet.
one.
I
Yeah,
crocheted.
this was just a little one. It's got rust spots I can't get out. I've done a lot of tatting also. This is one of my items I have. It's tatted. And you know Julia, our sister, she done a lot of tatting.
What do you call that?
Tatting.
Tatting.
That's tatting.
Have a
And
little
this is-
shuttle thing that you go
That's
like
a little
this.
bit different kind of an art. Now, if I'd have been smart, I would have taken the shuttle out and showed it to you. But I have it someplace that I used to use when I was a teenager. And I have some other. But
I
that
like
was-
to read. I didn't do that. I didn't
No,
tat.
I done
I
reading too,
embroidered.
but I like to-
I crocheted.
Yeah,
I crocheted.
I've done a lot of crocheting, and I still like to crochet. I still do a lot of it.
When we got a family, I had other things to do, so I
Patch.
never continued my crocheting.
Then we patch every.
Didn't have time.
Did you go into any dances, Ann?
Yeah,
You went to dance?
yeah. When I was growing up after grade school, 15, 16, Uncle Fred would take me along to dances. He was my older brother, and he took care of me. And I went with them. And we did get to go to the show. You know, the boys went to the show where Uncle Fred and then you came afterwards with Uncle Pius.
Well, I went
That
every
was one of our
Saturday.
pastimes
Yeah.
Oh, where did you meet Clem?
in church.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah. Clem's folks had moved out to Oregon in his younger years. I don't remember the year. And they came back then and moved on the farm again. And of course, when there was Aunt Barbara and Dad, you know, they were new in church then, you know. Hey, this new guy, you know.
Aha.
Well, a few years like that went by with this new guy in church, but pretty soon Uncle Joe and Clem, they would come in and sit in the front pews and watch us teach catechism. Oh. And Barbara and I would be teaching catechism, and Father and Miss Lang and we did our group, and here these two guys would come in, and it kind of started it.
Gosh, didn't tell us.
Guess where I met him?
Who's him?
Him.
Rudy, huh?
In the dance hall.
In the dance hall.
Caroline and Pius were going together. And then, I just kind of went along, took me along to the dance. And here, the one time we went in there, and here is this good-looking guy with the red hair, and he's got this brownish red corduroy suit on, this maroon corduroy suit on. That was it, I guess. From then on, when Pius went over to see Caroline, while I went along.
Yeah, but
Could he dance?
Oh yeah, he could dance, and he played the guitar, and him and Johnny used to go
that
play
was
the
a big thing.
dances,
He
you know.
played the- And he sang. Remember, he sang those cowboy songs.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I guess I can't deny it.
And you know what? He was even gets thought enough about me that we had all that snow that when those winters before we married, the winter before, that he could rode horseback all the way over to our house.
So
14 miles? And he stayed overnight, and he drive back home again the next day.
How long did you go with him?
About 3 years.
40.
4 years? No, 3 years. 3 years.
Wow.
That's long enough.
I used to bust a string in my guitar so I could dance. I'd like to dance better than play.
You see a lot of...
I mean, if one would break, you know, I wouldn't bother to change it. I would go dance. I wanted to dance. See, Johnny and I, he played the accordion and I played the guitars.
There were a lot of barn dances over at Fred Bishop's. Well, it wasn't Fred
Maddern's
Bishop
barn,
then. Maddern's
Fred
barn.
Barn upstairs and
Yeah,
Maddern's
but
barn
I don't
upstairs.
remember them as much as Fred Bishop over there.
And Bishop's house. We had a few parties over there.
Bishop barn too. I remember the barn.
Paul
But they
and
used to have.
Fred
Was it
were
in our house? I remember
involved
some
in
dances
that.
going
They
on
were
at our
married
house.
already.
But I wasn't. I mean, I was kind of small yet then. I don't think I did any
Yeah.
dancing then.
Yeah, we'd invite
But they
the
didn't
kids
have.
come over again after church and we'd get together and somebody would play the accordion. Usually John Bush
Down below.
would
Yeah.
play the
Oh,
accordion.
yeah.
We would dance
How far did Uncle Clem have to come visit you then?
about 7 miles with a horseback. Middle of the winter.
Was it rather intimidating to come to your house? Meet your dad? And
Yeah, that was all. Guess I don't know. Just
In the summertime they had a Model A. Was it a Model A? Do you remember when you broke the tooth out?
My
When you were a little kid?
Uh-uh.
When Pa bought the first Model A?
I don't remember.
Model T. First Model
No,
T
I don't
he bought.
remember
We were
that.
going with the horses that time. And he had built, and I've been wondering, was that the garage shed that Uncle Pius is there now, or was there a different shed there before? A car shed. You don't remember that?
I don't remember.
Well, anyhow, he bought this Model T and he's going to take us kids to go get the mail, practice how to drive. She sat in the front, and of course I sat in the back. You were about 2, 3 years old, something like that.
Well, actually, I don't remember.
Went up to the mailbox and got the mail, and on the way home into the garage and didn't know how to stop the car. Went right through the wall. She went across in front of the dashboard and knocked that one tooth out. Do you remember the tooth that was so
I never
cool?
heard that.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah.
He's driving too fast.
Well, I don't know. He just couldn't.
See, I did
Was that your
that. When I drove in the garage, we had cement this high in front, see, then they'd stop the car. It wouldn't go out the back. I was 6 years old when I did that.
When you did that.
Did you drink any beer?
No. I didn't drink any beer.
I don't remember that, but I always remember because I was
Only you
so
could ask
scared.
that question.
I was so scared that you had been hurt, you know, and come up out of that dashboard and there was a tooth missing.
I remember how I started driving a car. We had that was a Model A, whatever it was in those years. And I'd go, you know, I'd always walk up and get the mail, which was about a mile away, a good while away. So one day I went out and I took the keys and I drove up there, and that's how I drove. Nobody didn't tell me I couldn't. You know. After that, I drove to town instead of Dad driving. I drove to town with them.
They didn't need any license in days.
We didn't get to town very often when we needed shoes or something, when we were growing up.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky. I was lucky.
Little, when we
Yeah.
were growing up, that
Yeah.
the boys and I could drive, then books was a big thing, the library.
Books, that's what it, and I remember when we got through cultivating the corn, sitting on that horse all day, come home, and Dad had this big orchard, you know, all these fruit trees, and then I'd help him. Then we on the stone boat, we had these big barrels and put water on, and then we'd help him and then help him water the trees. I remember that.
Do you remember when we had all the fertilizer?
No.
Well, every spring in his grape orchard, I always helped him. He would trim all his grapevines, you know, and
trim his
stake them, you know, or whatever he transplanted. And then we had to go up with the bucket and get the liquid fertilizer from the barn. Because he made those big holes. It's 3 feet square and 3 feet deep.
I mean, that was barn manure. Was that your liquid?
Liquid.
fertilizer?
Yeah, liquid, yeah.
I don't remember that.
Liquid fertilizer.
The genuine thing.
That's what I thought.
Liquid form.
Liquid form.
And he would trim the roots and the tops just so. He's very good that way. And he'd put some black dirt underneath and he'd set those roots in like that. And then he put a little dirt around it and then he'd pour fertilizer in it. And then he would put more soil and build it up, and the poor soil was always put on top. And he had fruit. Always
Yeah,
fruit
lots
like
of
that.
lots of fruit all the time.
Remember taking the gooseberries and the currants with the milk buckets?
Yeah,
the currants with
yeah.
milk buckets?
Do you remember the time they took the truck and Fred with his truck? We always go up to
Up north of
get the trucks, the June berries by the 8-gallon
Turtle
Mountains.
Turtle
and
Mountains. To the cream cans.
Gallons and gallons and gallons of June
And the
berries.
wash tubs and the wash boilers and everything behind the old, what was that old truck that the folks had? Fred would drive up there.
I don't know.
And we kids would all go in the back, and we had all these cream cans and stuff in the back there.
Then you come home and you'd can and can and can.
And eat.
And we had the ice house. We always had an ice house. And well, first mother, she had this big garden, and they had the water piped over there, so she always had this path, where you'd water. So we had lots of. She had a big garden, a nice garden. And then the ice house was right down from the windmill that away, and we always had this ice house, which we kept the milk and the cream and meats in there in the summertime. But then that was after you were gone.
Ice cream.
Ice cream
Don't forget the
every.
ice cream.
When it come to harvest, now she was with.
Hang. Oh,
She
my.
was with the stacks, not the binding so much. You were more
Thrashers.
with the with the thrashers.
Hooks
I
and-
was
But-
shocking.
Yeah, I was shocking too. But you said we didn't have what did you call it? A header.
Oh, yeah.
we didn't
yeah.
have those.
No, we threw them
We
out
we
there.
just we had just the
Binders.
the binders.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, remember every time we'd come home, especially after even she was gone, you'd get up in the morning and you'd milk the cows and get the chores done, and then you'd come in and you'd clean a chicken. And then every day, and then
Because
by
our meat was
9
always
o'clock
fresh
or
every
so,
day,
you'd
every
be ready to go out and you shock. And then you shocked until 11 o'clock, and then you'd come in and you'd fix dinner. Between 12 and 1 o'clock, you'd hurry up and bake something. And then you'd go back out and shock again till 5 o'clock. Then you come in, you do the chores, and you milk the cows, and you make always a gallon of ice cream. Every night you made a gallon of ice cream.
And we ate it up.
We ate it up. And then after supper, if you didn't have the shocking done, then you go back out again and shock until you were caught up. That's
Yeah,
what we
pretty
did.
long days.
Yeah, and we always
Yes.
wanted to be caught up too, didn't we?
Yes, we always
If there
wanted to
were
be
more
caught
than
up.
2 rows laying,
Yeah.
there was enough for one shot.
Yeah.
Well, that was bad, if there was 4.
Yeah, and I'll never forget
always had to
for
catch up.
when the thrashing. Well, we had a thrashing machine, Fred. and the folks that had a thrashing machine. But when it come to our place, that we were that I had to haul grain. I was about 9, 10 years old when had the wagon you haul grain, and you'd thrash till dark. Well, first place, Mother always had all these watermelons, and those guys did always want watermelons, so they
A great big
ones. So I take-
Gunny sack full
Yeah,
underneath
so we
the
take them
coat
out.
shed all the time.
We had to take them out with a wagon. I'd take them out and give them to them out in the field. They were so happy. And then in the evening, when you had your last load of grain on there, well, that was fine. But you had to drive to Tunbridge yet 5 miles down north there, in order to get this grain unloaded. So probably 10, 11 o'clock when you got home, and you'd be spared spitless and kind of this dark. So you'd sit down like this and let the horses go home.
Well, they were smarter than we were anyway. They knew the road already. All we had, we drive up to the thrashing machine. And we'd have somebody of the older people back it up to the auger and fill it up, and then from there on they drive away, and we'd drive to town. And when we got to the depot,
The
elevator, to the elevator, we'd get off and let the elevator guy drive in and unload it and drive out again. And then we would hold the reins, but the horses knew the way. So we hauled grain all the time. I have a picture of that too with the corn pants on.
I don't have no picture.
Yeah, I have a picture of that.
Well, who was the first one to get married and move away from home? You were the first one.
Uncle Fred.
Well, you and I, yeah,
Well,
Fred.
Of the two of us, yeah.
Yeah.
Uncle Pete got married in 29. Uncle Fred got married in
35.
35 in June, and we got married in November in 35.
35.
Mhm.
I got
And
married
then
in
And
37.
then you got married in 37. Uncle
Yeah.
Pius got married when?
2 years.
2 years afterwards?
2 years later.
So did you move down right after you got married to where you lived?
The first winter we stayed with Uncle Joe's Shells out they lived in Bantry. They had been married and had a cattle there, and Uncle Joe had surgery. Uncle Joe was in the hospital that winter, and Aunt Barbara, there was no transportation. I don't know if you took the train up to Rugby or not, to go back and forth. And here we stayed on the farm that one winter. And then that next year it was the first year. And then the next year, then we found a place down there, and we moved down there. And we started farming. And we didn't have no machinery, so Clem worked for Uncle Pius back and forth, and then Uncle Pius helped with our crop in. And then from the 80 acres of cropland that we put in on the home place, that fall, Clem got a rake and a mower, and he cut it down and made a little pile beside the barn, and that was all our crop we had. A little bit of hay for our cattle that we had, and we milked 2-3 cows and a little cream shed. That's what we survived on. Every other week we'd have a little 3-gallon can of cream or something. We didn't have a car, so Clem would hitch up the stone boat, yeah, and take the cream over to Martin X Mints, and they would go to town on Saturdays. They'd go to town to alter with the cream, and he'd get the groceries I had written up and come back again. My grocery list, that was what we need. I'd write it up. And the price, this costs so much and so much. Well, we can only afford this much, so pretty soon I'd check this one off, check that one off. So we needed a pair of gloves. Well, we need kerosene for the lamp. We need offering money for the church, and then that was it. And the rest we had. Many times it was less than $1 for the groceries that we'd have. But you could buy quite a few things, for $1. But that's our little cream check is what we got started on. And our first car we bought, we had two. That was a couple of years later then, because the first years we had Magdalene and Raymond, and Clem would carry Magdalene and I would carry Raymond, and we would walk up to Sanders. Remember where Sanders lived, up on the hill? We'd all walk up there with the children Sunday mornings and go to church with them, and then back again. And that was a big thing to me. It was one of the spotlights of the week, because Mrs. Sanders, she was an invalid or semi-invalid. I say invalid because she was in bed all the time. And her daughter, she would always have a great big kettle full of soup and a big ham and great big loaves of bread. And when we came home for church, we dared not go home without eating with them. Oh, that was good. Then we'd go home again. Yeah.
Remember her?
And then our first car we bought, Clem traded 2 calves for $50 for a car. Was it a Model A, I think, or something? An old car. And that was our first car we had then. Well, in the 30s there was no money,
Yeah.
In the 40s it got better then. The crops were better and we had more cattle, they increased, so things got better then.
Yeah, we were tough, but we weren't quite that tough. we put the crops in together that time, our first year. And then what we got, ours was $250 worth is what we got that first year. And out of that, we paid $25 for the hospital for Janice and $25 for the doctor bill. We bought that crib for $10, which we just burnt here about 3 years ago. We had it all those years. And we bought an old car for $35. And that's what we lived on. And then, of course, we had the cows. And that's what our creatures. And I tell you,
You had to have cows too.
yeah, we had to have cows. We got cows from the folks.
Yeah.
I got you got your complete set of the stove, and we got everything.
Dowry.
Our dowry was complete. My dowry, I was very good
We
dowry.
had 5 head of cattle and our stove and our table and chairs.
Everything.
And
We had a dining room set.
kitchen cabinet and
Everything. Dining room set, and the
The
living
bed
room
and
set, and the
everything,
bedroom
that
set,
was
and the
our dowry
stove, and the
for work,
everything. Everything.
Because I was 22 when I got married. I
5
did a lot
cows.
of shocking and haying and
10 chickens.
yeah, and those chickens, a good thing that ate good.
Yeah.
But we ate fresh eggs all the time.
Yeah, but that was
Whatever.
what we had. We go back to the time when we were making hay, and what I did, I've always raked. Mother had to set the stack, and by the time when the crops were so poor there, they They put salt, they made the big stacks, and they put salt in there, like, the thistles and stuff. If you
Yeah.
said thistles, that's what you were cutting, because the grain
That's
didn't
why
go
they
except
put
a little
salt.
bit here and there, then
Yeah,
you cut it for
30 there,
thistles.
yeah.
And then you'd stack it up. And that's what, then they put salt in there to be kind of like silage, like, and that's what they fed the cattle.
And they real milk real good in
Yeah,
that.
they did. Yeah.
Good for them.
Oh, that was, yeah, it's kind of,
I'll
Right.
never forget when we packed up and moved our things down there, and whatever the folks gave us, and a big slab of bacon.
oh, Dad always had that, when they
A big
butchered
slab
for.
of, and that was eaten raw because it was smoke cured in the.
That's what they did with their hams
with
and
the
their
hams,
bacon.
when
their
we
bacon
butchered in
stuff.
the fall. I don't know if your folks done that too.
Yeah, they did.
The meat was brined, the hams and the
Good
bacons
salt.
I could never eat that though.
were brined.
But Dad would just take it, that's raw,
Yeah.
and he just slice
Well,
it up
mother-
and eat
It
it.
was good.
Oh, I could never eat it. It was
Well, it still
So-
was good.
well, it was good, but I don't like speck.
Put between some fresh baked bread, boy.
Sometimes the
But
water
I
wasn't
remember
better
that
than
big
margarine
slab of
we get
bacon.
now.
and the first fall we were down at that farm down there. Pa came down with the buggy, the horse, and he was a welcome visitor, I'll tell you that much. He had that buggy loaded with fruit from the garden. Bushel baskets of fruit that he had picked, grapes and apples and whatever he had, they had everything, And I ate good for a while. It was good, yeah. And then from there on, of course, we started gardening, and raising things, and gradually.
And I remember when I was growing up there, then when Pete and Jenny lived up in the farm up there, every Friday night, rain or shine, cold as it could be, storm as hot, Mother had the little sled, my little sled, and she had a big box, and she had it full of food. I don't remember what she had all in there, but she had it full of food. You tie it down, and I would walk those, was it 2 miles, 3 miles up there?
Tell me 3 more.
3 miles
Yeah,
every
3 miles.
Friday night after school. I'd walk up there with that food, and I'd come home on Saturday night. I'd stay one night over, and we'd play cards and stuff, and then I'd come home, rain or shine. Yeah, for
Yeah.
years, and then they finally moved out then.
When they had their first babies, she was always kind of sickly, Jenny was. And the first two were kind of close together too, so I'd go out and wash day and wash clothes. I'd walk up there, wash clothes, and then hang up and dry them and walk back home again. About 3 miles. Done it many through the summer.
I didn't, well, in the summer I didn't get up here, but for the winter, I remember that.
And you
when I
went
had
in
to
the
walk
winter
rain
time
or
with the
shine.
sled, huh?
Rain or
I
shine.
went in the summertime, but I walked up there. Yeah.
But we never did get back to Christmas with the Bilsliegel come. We got Bilsliegel.
Oh, yeah, you better.
You met her?
And that was the Pilsniki was a hairy thing that come creeping in and had a
Christmas
root in
Eve.
his hand.
Well, where do you get all the hair?
He had one of these fur coats on, inside out.
Inside out fur coat.
They had these big fur coats. And I'll never forget, that's when I got my doll, my last doll, it was a nice, beautiful, big doll, And he'd come in and, if you were bad, he'd chain you to the table,
Right.
I was sitting under the table, I had to come out and get that doll. He had that little riddle in there.
Stick your
A
hand
little
out.
stick.
Lead. It must be a whip. You're going to have to explain that for us ordinary people,
Wait,
Mother made these willow baskets. Each one of us had a private little basket, like I showed you. Those were them. And the night before Christmas, we'd set them out, good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christmas
and,
Eve.
Next evening, of course, here the Pilsnik comes in, and here the basket of who
he
brought
got
in
a hold of your basket,
who
huh?
brought in the basket? Did
Oh,
Bob
I
bring
don't
it?
remember who brought in the back. I just remember that.
You remember the read?
Why did they want to scare you?
What's he
If we're good,
If
if we're good
you were
kids,
good, you didn't do anything. But
Yeah,
if you
but
were
you got
mean,
beat anyway, so you...
well,
Scare us a little bit to be hate the next year or something.
That was the tradition. And I remember when all those years, we went to church. We always had to use the bobsled.
Mm-hmm.
Was so much snow. And don't think you're doing penance in church now, because you're not. Because when we went to church, and then Father Mars, he hear confessions. It was 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, whenever there's somebody there, he'd hear
As long as
confessions.
somebody was
Right.
going to confession, he was
And then
there.
you'd have the mass.
Oh, we had rosary first.
Oh, first we had rosary, then we had the mass.
No, we also had
Catechism.
and
That was afterwards.
confessions.
Well, it was like catechisms we had,
Rosary
yeah.
and confessions, and then the mass, and we had the introit and everything.
Yeah, there was
And the
benediction,
credo and everything.
yeah, everything. And then after that, we still had to drive home.
Oh, then we had catechism classes.
Catechism, yeah.
Catechism.
She taught
And choir
9
practice.
Well, quite.
Choir practice.
We'd come home and, well, thank God Mother had put this big roaster. Every Sunday we had this big roaster with a chicken
Yeah,
and
whatever she
pigs
had,
in the
chicken,
blanket
yeah,
and everything. was ready.
and the potatoes and the carrots and the onion, everything in the room. You could smell it from a half a mile. We were that hungry.
And you think you got it tough when you go to church.
And come home and go to the Pizza Hut.
You're in church in half an hour and you're sitting there and you're...
Well, Raymond, why don't you tell us now what you were doing at this time when your folks were to church and you were a little shaver?
Yeah.
Yeah. Come on.
I don't remember it.
You weren't that bad, were you?
Well, I'll tell you something. Our kids did it when we were...
You're doing it to me. Turn it away.
Over in your chair, dear.
No, come on.
No, that's fine. She's...
You hand me that plant, it's going to bug you there.
The only thing that's bugging me is Laverne there.
How to set a thing out of the way here someplace.
Well, did you stay in church or did you sit outside on the buggy sometimes or did you just sit down?
I hear this too.
I don't remember hardly anything in my childhood, so I can't.
Who are you?
Laverne, take that camera.
No, that should be interesting. What, did you have a car when you were younger? Or,
Right? Hear all this.
you had your own car,
What
didn't
did you do when
you?
you were younger? Yeah.
Did you ride horseback? Or?
If you shut it off, I'll explain it all to you.
No, it's
No, this is family history. You can get a copy of this if you're interested.
Is that right?
Right, you can have a tape made of this. That's why they're having it made.
You can have
This
your
is
own
for
tape
family.
of this.
Oh, okay,
Anybody and everybody wants
that
one,
is, that is
hopefully
great.
they'll make one.
And you're still running in it.
Okay, start out when you went to catechism at the church, or did you have to milk the cows, or did your dad milk and leave you haul the hay in, or what?
What did you do, dear? I don't know.
Maybe you were just sneaking out behind the barn, weren't even looking,
Yeah, that's right. I played hooky.
Well, you were the only boy. You must know, mostly what went on.
Yeah, as far as farming is concerned,
Yeah.
chores and whatever have you.
Yeah. How many cows did you have to milk before you went to school?
Do you milk by hand or milk by machine?
Well, for many years we did milk by hand.
Give me.
Yeah.
Look,
Come on, Ray.
No,
You
please.
I can't help you, dear, so.
Janet to stand on either side, look out the window. So you hurry up, you milk a cow, then you run out and look, yep, they're still sitting there. You go in and milk a cow, yep, they're still sitting there. You hurry up and run out to see if it was all right. But we didn't always catch it because the one time when we come in the house, Daryl had taken the noodles and he had spread them. He'd gone into the living room and when we had fire in the wintertime and he had these noodles in the dash box in there. One other time we come in and there was the syrup was all over the floor. One time we come in, I guess that was when Larry was already there, and then they evidently had pulled the high chair over by the stove because Larry, they said, had put his hand on the cook stove, and of course he was, was burned. And it was a real nice lean-to because when it rained, thank God that it was on a slant because when it rained through to the water, it would always run out in that corner. We didn't have to
Yeah,
worry.
the floor was a little slanted. And the walls weren't too tight. So you could get out.
And sit down.
In the wintertime, when we had a
Oh,
lot of
this is
snow,
We'll be all
there was the
right.
cook stove there, and then
Gonna
like I
get
say, it
horse
wasn't too
coffee
tight
or-
because
Oh,
of the
that
wind was
way,
blowing real.
Yes.
Get up in the morning, it wasn't that high a snowbank behind the cook stove that was right hot. And the pipes would go from the living room through the living room, and then out through the kitchen, and out through this little hall, and up, and then these pipes, you know, they get the soot on there, and when you burn them like crazy when it was real hot, they get red up and they start burning. So you'd hurry up and take the towels and wet them, and you'd put a pail of water, go up on top of the house and pour the water down to put the fire out. Those were the good old days.
I don't know.
They were different, weren't they?
They were different.
They were different.
I don't think that he was drinking.
And how easy we got it.
No, I just drink water. I don't care for anything.
Sure.
I'll probably share a little bit with you.
Rose, will you share?
Oh, wow, we opened them.
It's open.
Them, you know, when we were growing up. And he would read them. And at that time, we had the two German papers that were printed in Bismarck.
Yeah,
Stouts
the Stouts
inside
inside
on the Volksfreund.
Oh, I
Volksfreund.
never heard
Wasn't it
of that.
Volksfreund?
Never heard of that.
Maybe it was called different.
No, I don't
And
know.
Which German paper?
the
The
Stouts
Stouts
inside.
inside, huh?
The Volksfreund, wasn't it?
North Dakota Herald or something like that? No, I don't know.
No, wait a minute.
I know they got two papers.
I don't know.
And they had a lot of letters
Stouts
in from
inside.
across.
Oh, I knew it.
Dad liked to play pinochle.
Oh, yeah.
He played pinochle with him. And he liked to sing German songs because after we were married even, we'd come home to visit. And that's what we did. We sang German songs with Dad.
When we would drive to church, after Pete was married, Pete would drive. Do you remember when you and Pa were sitting in front? I was sitting in the back with Pa and Ma. We'd sing German songs all the way to church and back again. All the church songs we'd sing. Oh,
Was there, right? I don't
yes.
remember that.
Yeah.
See, my memory is short.
Yeah. See, this is the
Things that I
best.
should
Yeah, they
remember.
like
I don't
to
know what I
sing.
should remember. I do.
When we first got married, they always
too?
wanted us to sing their own.
Always sing.
like
Dad,
different.
Well, Dad, I'll never forget Dad taught us this song. Das lieb ich lieb ein Mädchen von 18 Jahren. That was. Ich lieb ein Mädchen verzeiht, vertreibt, drum sag ich's noch einmal. Schön ist die Jugend, ja. Schön ist die Jugend, sie kommt nicht mehr. Ja, ja, sie kommt nicht mehr. Sie ist bei mir, dear. Schön ist die Jugend, sie kommt nicht mehr. You understand that? Well, you don't understand that. Okay.
Wie breit noch den Fischen und es wichtig. And that's all I know. And I wish somebody would know and tell me those words.
No,
The
this
melody
is
just beautiful.
this is his song.
Sing
Ich lieb ein Mädchen, I love a girl.
I like that.
Von 18 Jahren, she's 18 years old. Ich liebe ein Mädchen, to pass, I love a girl, to pass my time. Drum sag ich's noch einmal, I will tell you again.
Dann sag ich
Noch einmal, schön ist die Jugend, your nice is the youth. Schön ist die Jugend, drum, okay, I can't sing about it at the same time. I'll sing it and you say it in
Let's
English,
sing
okay?
when we can sing.
Sing what we can sing. Yeah.
Sitzen so freilich beisammen und wir haben einander so lieb. Und wir heiden einander das Leben, ei, wenn es noch immer so blieb. Es kann ja nicht immer so bleiben und du huckst nicht so fest auf deinem Thron. Und der Krieg muss der Frieden vertreiben, dem Krieg, der wird's keinem verschont.
She's going to play the organ and we're going to sing. Drum sag ich's noch einmal. I'll tell you again, as nice as you do it. So, and I don't know, but he taught us that song.
It's
And
nice
we'd
to
sing.
have.
Yeah.
We should have learned it.
Yeah, you should have. Of course, it was in German. You should have learned how to. You should have learned. We should have taught you how to speak German. Is what you
Yeah,
should have
or
done.
even sing.
Well, if you got to learn how to talk before you can sing, otherwise you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're saying. You guys should
And
know
I
all
didn't
those because you
even
can
have
talk
singing
German. You
ability.
talk German real well, don't you?
Used to,
Used to, but you're forgetting it.
yes.
Don't.
Very much.
Keep it up.
Jetzt trinken wir Schnaps allein und wollen mehr lustig sein, aber nur kein Wasser. Nein, nein, das tu ich nicht, mein schwacher Magen kann es nicht vertragen.
I'm not singing now.
Jetzt wollen wir einmal Heiratssasa, lustig sein, fröhlich sein und Badera. Du liegst mir im Herzen, du liegst mir im Sinn, du machst mir viel Schmerzen, weiß nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Ja, 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 weiß nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Wie ich dich lieben, so liebe ich auch mich. Wie dir für Leben, fühl ich allein auch für dich. Ja, 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 fühl ich allein auch für dich. Let dich fest, ich mir so wohl gewusst, ich sitz meinem Lebenstag nimmer so wohl. Wohl, ich sitz meinem Lebenstag nimmer so wohl. Ich will nur sterben und ist noch so jung. Ich will nur sterben und ist noch so jung. Wann ist der Absatz, ist das der Stiefel mehr, wenn wir Stiefel muss sterben und ist noch so jung. That's not.
Look at this amazing sound here. Remember when we sang this?
What are we singing now? German song or English
Yeah,
song?
here. Remember this here?
Rosen hab ich gefunden, hab sie abgerappt, sie sind verschwunden, aber du allein bist meine Freude. Schon schaut niemand mehr auf dieser Welt, aber du allein bist meine Freude. Schon schaut niemand mehr auf dieser Welt. Well, we
No,
don't.
I should take this one.
The folks would not throw anything. Everything was too valuable. Any little scrap that we had was used for something. These blankets Mother used to make with worn out sweaters. She'd rip up, open up the sleeves. She would buy material like a dark flannel, always a dark, or dark cotton prints, and she'd lay out the piece. And then she would put these pieces of sweaters all over on it, kind of even it up all over, and then stitch it. And for stitching, this thread from the flower sacks was used that would be unraveled from the flower sacks, and she would stitch it about so far apart, and then put the other piece on top, and then tie them again with string or yarn, whatever she had. This inside
This yours
part
tied?
is the inside is.
That's where the
I-
sweaters are.
I used
This is the way they were
I
tied.
used skirts. I used old skirts when my kids, outgrew them, and made a cover and put these opened up sweaters in, and then I stitched
Tied
that back and forth. That of course is very old. So now
This is the way Mother
I
used to tie them
I
then.
went and bought some unbleached muslin and made it extra top on it. The other one is the old one inside. And this is the way it was tied then. The first was stitched back and forth with that cord. And then, of course, Mother she would get dark flannel or dark cotton material for the blankets. They also used pieced denim, whatever they had, to make blanket covers. These blankets, these dark ones, were used in our sled drives. In the winter time, we would sit on the side on the bench,
Along with the sheet
have
with the
a hot rock on our feet, and hay or straw, whatever.
The horsehair
And then,
blanket.
and then the horse blanket, and we'd always have blankets over our heads. So these were the blankets that were used over our heads. I used this on my bed. For the beds, of course, they were used also. But there we had covers on. This happens to be a new one. I had to make one to remind me of my childhood. And at first, of course, we didn't have buttons. They were quite rare. The only buttons Mother would have would be the ones if she took off underwear, or of shirts and things when the things were remodeled for something else. So she went and she sewed little strings on there to tie them with. Well, that was okay, but as kids, we had these iron beds, and we would tie these on the iron beds from the bottom. Sometimes we had them all tangled up, so we couldn't get them off anymore. So then finally she went and she put buttons on them. So this is kind of a reminder of the way Mother used to make blankets, and I used them on the beds. And they were quite warm.
I didn't remember that. That's before my time.
Cars weren't that fast. They only went 75 miles an hour top speed.
Well, at the time, I'm just trying to think of one.
Many a time it was quite late.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we tell our kids that when our kids were growing up, they had to be home by 12, sometimes. But when we were out, well, party usually didn't. 9 they start playing. They played till 12. And they had a intermission, half hour, till 12:30. And they played till 2 o'clock. After the intermission,
Yeah.
played till
And by
2
the time
o'clock.
you got home,
Went out,
Well, by the
Yeah.
time you take her home, and then you're back get my
of course
place.
you didn't leave right away when you got there.
It was good.
Just
I was
stand around
trying to go to the
talking.
bar and get it.
Stand around talk a little bit, and and you get going. And
Barely made it over talking.
I often wonder if Mother laid there was wondering if we were ever going to come home or
I
not.
don't know if they ever worried about us coming back. They
We
never
worried
said
about the
too
kids.
much. They never said too much. But,
Wasn't there a tradition of the broom against the door or something? You were
Not at our
walking-
house. Maybe
No.
in somebody else's house, but not at our house.
Did you just go into like your food and all the kinds of things that you made when you were growing up?
we haven't got into
We
that.
didn't get into that yet.
Tell us about that.
There's a one instant, one time that I never forget. I should tell this on our side too. Anyway, I'd been up to see her, and I come back at night, and there was never any yard lights or anything, and I come home, and I put the car in the garage, and I got out, and I knew about the direction of the house, so I was walking along, and we had a shaggy old dog, and all of a sudden, this dog slips under my hand. I just about melted. Can you imagine this dog and your hand slip on his dog? It just about killed me. I found out what it was right away, but just the instant feeling, It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to get a little later, but.
Yeah.
Oh, we made a lot of trips to some of the lakes. We have some picture when we went up to Canada to where there's a big water slide, and we rented a boat.
Oh, I have
paddle around.
do you want to see pictures of your mom and stuff when she was young?
I'll let that go till after we get.
Well, not now, but I went there's the book.
Well, anyway,
How about when you were up at that water slide?
Well,
Yeah,
here's
you
the
would
book.
even see
together.
it. See
well,
Yeah,
see what you have.
Johnny
in there.
Giesinger and
this is the book.
his girlfriend were along, Jackie, and all them guys. And the Pius and Caroline
Here
were
we
up
are.
there, and
See, this is us. Yeah, and your mom
Took
and,
that
and
trip.
dad are in there too in one spot. You were in there too when you went up to,
Yeah, Sally's here.
yeah.
Oh, sure.
We had a
No,
lot
no,
of-
we didn't go to Sully's Hill. We went up to Canada.
What did we do up there?
We went sliding down. We got to show you the picture.
we didn't slide down the
We didn't
slide,
slide
so
down
we
the
walked
slide.
up there.
Had
and
Have you
took
got me on the
pictures.
picture?
Well, yeah.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. Well,
I'll show
you
you.
can show it to you later anyway.
Yeah, okay.
I'll keep on a little bit here, you guys.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Well, keep on. What are we talking about?
Well, let's see, where did we go?
I
on,
remember when we went to Solace Hill down in
That was,
Devil's Lake.
yeah,
Yeah,
picnic,
that
family
was a
picnic.
picnic with, but
We
this
did a
is,
lot of card party picnics after we
oh
were
yeah,
married,
we
you
had
know.
card parties for 21 years. We
22
belonged
years.
to the card parties after we were married.
We had belonged to the card parties before we got married, and the whole thing was 22 years till we moved into town, till we moved out, I mean, to Israel.
until you left the farm.
No, we didn't play till we moved out of the farm. No.
Well, maybe it quit a
you
little
look
bit
at her,
earlier,
your
yeah.
skin, you
No, no, we didn't. After well, Vincent, we hated to. You want
And that's me
pants?
there too.
So Caroline, we went out and got some pants and we put them on. Those Fred's navy
I think
pants.
and I
it's
still didn't
Clarny.
get pants.
No,
like
you still
Clarny.
didn't, but we got Fred's. And here's
Canada.
Caroline.
We were travelers some way back.
And
Yeah.
Pius up there?
Yeah, that's Pius and Caroline, and see, they were going together at that time.
They were?
That's how I met him.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, Pius and
Well, I
Caroline were
was
going
reading
together.
A while ago when you said that
In
Pius
fact-
was coming to see Caroline, I didn't know he was going.
they probably would have got married the same year we did, but Pius went to Montana to pick beets or something. He was gone.
He did?
Yeah. He wasn't around. Caroline was so mad.
And then what did she do?
Well, I don't know. I guess they broke up.
They broke
after
up
that.
then, huh? Oh.
Yeah, see, when Pius would go pick up Caroline and go to the dance, and then he would, I would go along with him, and that's how I met him. And then when that's how we got to
Yeah,
the
see,
dance.
you went with Pius, or I
Yeah.
went with Fred, Oh, yeah.
So-
Well, you got a whole bunch of pictures there. Here's Clem on there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's on there. You were.
We were married already.
yeah,
That
you
was
were
my
married.
36th, yeah.
Nice looking man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
John Geese Emerson.
That was all
John and
There's the
Rose,
boat that took
yes.
a ride in.
Uh-huh.
and,
Silly and
This is our wedding. This picture.
well, you have to look at the book
Well,
and
for
after
goodness
this,
sake.
yeah.
That's our wedding.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
all right.
off.
That's your wedding picture.
You're okay.
It's
It's
on.
on.
You're okay.
It's on.
No, you're okay.
Stand back here.
Jackie and Cecilia.
Yeah, that's Jack and
You
Silly.
can stand behind and
Well,
look at
Yeah,
it.
sure.
They're all gone.
I'm only getting going now. So you were okay.
Yeah.
Pius and Caroline, and then you and Rudy, and you were even out swimming.
Oh,
yeah,
that
we
was
went
yeah.
swimming
We went up
and,
to the lake.
Where
Oh.
did we go?
This is the bus that we built I built the frame out of wood and I put it on a 2-runner sleigh with a pole on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I enclosed it with paper boxes and had a window in front, 2 seats crossways. That's what we were driving the first 2 years. Every winter I'd put a new set of paper on the outside. It was nice and warm, that
How
paper.
clever. Yeah.
Cardboard, boxes from heavy paper, you know.
We'd go to the card parties, and the family would
We've
get
kept it a
together all the
couple times.
time.
We're all
And
out
we'd go
front.
with the bus. And there was 8 tables in our little bit of a house, 8 tables, and everybody, we all had little kids, and we have all these little kids, we put them to sleep and all, on these beds with all these clothes, and we had,
Everybody had kids, and
Everybody had
everybody
kids,
brought all
yeah.
their kids along. And we even had tables in the bedrooms, you know.
oh yeah, we had them upstairs in the bedrooms
There
all
wasn't
over.
enough tables, you sit
And in
on the
those
bed.
days,
and-
we didn't have any money, then we got together and made ice cream parties. So there was a group of us, I don't know how many it was, about 6,
That was about 6
4,
families.
6 families, I think. And then we get everybody's freezer, then we make ice cream, and then we play cards, or else we we didn't have any money to play with, so we
Played
played with
Royal Rummy.
matches.
Royal Rummy
You know,
with
we played
matches.
with matches. We put them back in again. We didn't have any money. We didn't play for money. And then we had ice cream and cake or cookies and stuff. And that's what we had for lunch. And we had a good time.
We played the Royal Rummy at your place one night too, where Martin Axman's
You
over
played
there.
West too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we played.
we
That was the West.
The
Was
West
the
party,
card?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the card
That's what I
club. The
thought,
West.
it was
Yeah.
the West,
You put money on all the, you remember that heart steel, that King and Queen, if you
Yeah.
hit that,
We played that with matches.
you'd get
Yeah.
that pile, and sometimes the King and Queen wouldn't come out for a while and build up, you know. But every round before you start, you had to put a penny on each one.
Called
Yeah.
Tripoli.
Triple E or whatever, I don't remember what, hearts, something.
When it was really, really bad out, we used to leave the kids at Grandma's house, and she'd stay home to take care of the kids at Grandma. At one time, the snow was really big. I know the card party was over at Tarvested's. Then Hornsteins had brought their kids along over to the corner and left them there. Grandma stayed home that night, and then we left the little ones there. And then as we were going off the highway, this big snowbank to go over to Tarvested's there now, thing tipped over
The
and
snowplow
threw us.
plowed out, and it was kind of a drop-in, see, the highway. Dumped all the kids out.
When Laverne was small, I don't know how old she was, maybe about 4 or something like that. She still has this scar
Yeah, right in
there.
the chin.
Yeah.
You were one of them?
Well, the snowplow had just gone through, and shortly
That
after
was
that,
when
she
it,
fell,
all the snow.
cut her
hit her.
chin. Well, then we said we better take her in and have it sewed up, but it needed to be a scar, you know. So I called Johnny, and he come up with his truck, had chains on, and had a half load of snow on. We took her in and dropped her off, picked up Grandma, my mother, and dropped them two off at the hospital, and we left right away for home.
Because we left her in town then, so we could.
And we drove from 6 o'clock that night till 12, and we were at Ole Sellens, and we
It's about a mile from our place.
borrowed a team to drive the last 2 miles home. We left the
Yeah.
truck, everything was
That's
froze
much
up.
snow and stuff we had at those days.
We had to shovel and everything froze up, brakes and everything couldn't go anymore.
Yes, you remember the time we had so much snow, I can still see in the movie where you and Jerry and you know, they had, that the trees were the big trees were half full of snow. Remember the barn there?
49,
Was half
48.
full.
49,
And the
50.
chicken coop was buried. We had to shovel out the chicken coop door so we could get in there to feed the chickens. But lots of snow. You remember all that? Yeah, that was lots of snow.
Yeah, we get pictures where you can see the windmill top. That's about it, you know.
Yeah.
After the
Yeah, the
think
chicken
they're gonna
house,
take out
the chicken
nowadays.
coop was usually buried. We had to dig it out.
again.
I can't imagine getting all that snow.
Take a look at some of these pictures there. Start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were the years.
the children were
When the road opened up, we had to hurry up, go to town, get a few groceries, and get back before it snowed over again.
milking twice a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had to be there.
Bernetta's got a scar
As long
on.
as we were on the farm, we had to do that.
Bernetta's got a scar on her cheek right here. You know that? You know how that happened?
The dog, you remember the dog bit her? I was carrying 2 pails of milk, and
We
she
still had to separate her up.
she was holding on to one of the
house.
pails, and the dog come alongside, and all of a sudden, got her with one eye tooth.
That was the end of that dog.
He's a tame dog. I know what it got into, but he. Yeah, there's a few.
You remember the times when we get together, they'd come over to our house and get the pictures, and the kids would go down in the water, take the pickup, and they go down in the sloughs and they go swimming and play
Oh,
baseball.
that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
don't have pictures of the swimming, but I have pictures of the picnic when we were eating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We had a lot of picnics
We had a lot of
between the
picnics.
relatives.
But I remember when we were
And
little and
Mom
growing
was
up.
there,
Yeah. When we were little, though, we didn't have no swimming suit. I remember you put an old dress on when it was raining out.
Down the lake, north side of the house,
Yeah, and you
of
put
the
this
barn
old dress
there,
on and you go out and slap
or
around.
in the barrels behind the barn. That was our bathing tubs, the first ones we had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put water in there every evening so it'd be warm the next day when we come home from the fields, we put our old dresses on and jump up and down, take our bath and spill the water, put some
Well, you
water in.
remember Spider, don't you? The horse we had. We had a lot of fun with him.
You know where our first bathtub was, our first
Yeah.
bathroom?
Where?
I went out to see it last year when I went up to Uncle Pius's. I was going to see if there were any more of those grapevines there that Dad had planted that I helped plant, And there are.
There
There's
are?
Yeah, there's some. I want to go up there and get some this year if I can make it. And we were walking around the orchard down on the north side there. And here is the old toilet that we had, in the north of the house, of the old house. That's still standing in between the trees there.
Yeah?
And I thought to myself, that was our first bathroom. we would heat up a tea kettle full of water and a cook stove in the summer kitchen, and take a pail full of water when we come home from the field and go down and sponge bath us out. That's the only place we had to go. And it's still there. I'm going to take a picture of that this summer and put it in
And
my
that'd be
book.
something you could in your book.
Imagine trips to the bathroom in the middle of the night were quite cold.
Yeah. Over the snowbank.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I tell
yeah.
you
It was
a
cold.
little bit.
when we were little, we had a pot. There was a pot under the
We
bed.
had a
or
pot
right
under the
in
bed or
bed.
else-
Oh, it's had air conditioning coming up with that hole.
Yeah. I remember then when we were married and stuff, the kids at the pot, we go out there and the snow was this high, it was the toilet, snow was piled this high in there, you had to get kind of this away in order to sit on, the wind would blow up with the Sears River catalog, was your toilet paper.
Almonds were out there for.
We had almonds or scissors.
Sometimes there was only hard pages left.
Early Sherman, right?
Corn cobs?
No.
Kind of rough.
Oh,
Yeah.
What was your mom's specialty, like as far as food? Did she have a special dish that was just hers, or?
well, I tell you what she always had on Sundays was, I think maybe, and was that she'd have the dinners ready and the roasters, which was duck. We had a lot of duck. She raised duck, and she had geese and stuff, and then with the pigs in the blanket, and then the potatoes in there, and so it was all ready when we come home. And pie was usually had. I know maybe way back, but I think you'd always have pie there, like apple pie and stuff.
Do you remember the ducks Mother used to raise and the chickens?
The
You
ducks,
know,
yeah.
early in the spring, like in February, when the hens would start setting, they'd want to set, and she would put boxes out in the granary and make nests in them and give the cluck some eggs, Well, when the ducks, we had to watch for the ducks too, because they would hide them all over the machine or any place. We'd go out and pick the eggs. Why? The longer we kept on picking up the eggs, they would keep on laying.
Yeah.
I have always tried to figure that one out,
Yeah.
but so we'd get a lot of duck eggs and raise a lot of ducks for the feathers for the bedding, And when them little ducks were, growing up, we would shell corn there in front of the barn on the west side of the barn. We shell the corn and they would eat, and they would go down to those lakes on the north side of the barn there, those two lakes down there. And they didn't go side by side. They followed one after the other. 50, 60, 70 ducks. The first ones were way down in the water already by the time the last ones joined. You ever watch a duck waddle? One behind the other. I'll never forget that. Then when it come to plucking, when the weather got so hot, and then the ducks, when the feathers were ready, the mature ducks, they would pluck their feathers out with the bills, and throw them. So we knew they were ready. Into the shed we would chase them, and of course we had to catch them. And Ma, she had the big wash tub there, and she'd take a duck and she'd hold the wings behind her back and stick the feet between her legs, and then she would pluck the feathers, one after the other, and we'd have to. And then the feathers were put in bags and hung out on the clothesline to air out and to dry
And
out.
flour sacks.
In the flour sack,
Yeah.
and hung up. And that was the feather digger, the pillows, and whatever we need. I got a feather dig for Christmas this year.
Did ya?
Yes, and
What'd you
I made a cover on it
Oh, where'd you get that from?
from the girls,
Oh,
from
good.
Lorraine and Bernice. And I says, I feel like a little kid again. With the feather dig. Yeah, and they said they make them here in North Dakota somewhere. I don't know where, but this is what they said.
Well, I suppose anybody that when they get butcher ducks, for selling, you
Yeah,
can save
yeah.
the feathers.
And the one I got is goose down.
Goose down.
So it must have been geese that they
geese,
have, or ship them in from somewhere,
Yeah.
But they said they're made here in North Dakota somewhere.
How about butchering day at the farm?
The
Yeah,
turkeys,
that was-
yeah.
A big thing?
Well,
Well, they used to get together years ago, the neighbors, and they'd butcher probably 8 pigs at one time.
we didn't.
We didn't.
We didn't.
Yeah, we did.
We never
We
did.
butchered two.
We had a couple of the neighbors come by, and then we'd shoot all the pigs and line them up and stick the barrel under the manger kind of, and chain it up or rope it, and stick the pig in there one tail end first if the water was too hot, and then the head, and turn them, and pull them out on the next table, and some guys start scraping the air off, and we'd hang them up, and cut them down the middle, and draw them, and cut the heads off, and then quarter them with the handsaw. We'd saw the whole thing through and done that.
Well, how did you keep your meat then? I mean, keep it.
Well,
Well,
they,
in our time, with the folks' time, they would salt the brine, the hams and the bacons
hams
real
and
hard,
bacons,
and then they'd smoke it, and they'd hang it out in the granary during the winter, the winter time, and it would keep. And when they'd bring it in, well, it just was hard on the outside, so they would just, clean it all off, cut that outside off. And Dad, I can remember seeing Dad sitting there with that, and he just cut pieces off, and he'd just eat it raw like that.
Always.
Yeah,
And
they
it
had
was
probably-
It was smoke cured.
Yeah.
inch
But we
and a
had
half
we had
fat
a-
on there,
yeah.
skin on top of it. course, the skin and that smoke and the salt is what held it from,
Yeah.
Cured it.
cured it, you know.
Yeah.
Salt, had to be
And they
salted
kept it.
through, you know.
Yeah.
But they had it out in the
They'd
garden.
keep it in like
Yeah.
20 days or longer in
Yeah.
the brine. It's how they test the salt if it's strong enough. If you could float an egg, if an egg would float, it was strong enough salt.
The
So
folks had a smokehouse.
it
where
was
they
a
put
little
their-
salty, but you could hang it in
Yeah.
the granary for the summer and
Yeah.
it would keep.
But then when we got, I mean, we didn't have that, so we canned our meat.
Well, the sausage we usually canned, what we couldn't use up during the winter months. But, we canned chicken.
Yeah, we canned the chicken.
That
we
canned chicken, you'd cook it in the wash boiler.
No, I
with
used
the
to put it in
jars.
the oven so it got nice and
Oh,
brown.
did you put it
I
in?
put mine in the
Well,
oven.
we didn't way back, you know.
But
You
I did
Yeah.
when we got married.
stick it in the jars and then cook it in the wash boiler, you know,
Nice
stick it
and
in
brown
water.
into it.
You have to tell them how your mom used to make coffee. I don't know if Mother made
Yeah,
it
this
strong
coffee
enough.
that my mother used to make, I don't know if you guys remember the chicory that they used to
Oh,
use.
yeah.
Chicory, you know, that
I don't know.
it
Sigori.
was
I don't remember.
Sigori, it was a round, hard, they
About
just
like
chip a
about
little
that
off of
long.
Did
that.
Mother do that too?
Oh, yeah.
Once a week they'd
Over the
make new
summer
coffee.
kitchen, it was always on top of the
In the
cupboard
meantime,
there.
they'd add a little chicory and more coffee, you know, and sometimes there
Well, they
was
must have made it sometime.
that
because
much
Sigori
grounds
was
in the
a
bottom of a big coffee
As
can
a
like
rule,
that,
they-
you know, and it always sat on the back
Cows drank milk.
cook stove, you know, and it was,
They could have been-
And they had.
it was always hot. Coffee was
Can
always
you get
warm
that
on the
always?
stove.
Come here, if
And once a week they'd dump all these grounds out and make new coffee, you know. But it was so strong. Of course, they added probably a third of a cup of milk or cream
About
they
4
used,
teaspoons of
And
sugar.
sugar.
and 2 teaspoons
sugar.
of sugar, see,
Yeah.
that, otherwise you couldn't
Yeah.
have
They
it.
probably had more than that because Ray adds more than that.
That strong coffee, that was one thing, you know.
Yeah, they had with Sigori, yeah.
Oh yes, they used to have parties. They used to have namesake parties. I think
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
always had a party that the parents.
We also had a peak hole up on top. In fact, we had 2 rooms, one for the girls and one for the boys. And anyway, it wouldn't heat very good, it wouldn't circulate, so they put another register in the other room and they cut a door between the two because the heat wouldn't circulate, it wouldn't get warm up there. But I remember one namesake had, well, Steve was always, the Stevens namesake was always 2 days after Christmas. And we'd
Yes.
always had a big crowd there. We'd always look forward to getting
Names day.
these candy bags, you know, candy and
From the
peanuts. We
neighbors,
used to
each
get
one traded.
as high as
Traded the
10,
candy
12
bags.
bags, and then we'd pour them on the table this high and divide them, us kids the next day. We had a lot of fun. Of course, they pulled some tricks. I know one time Max Warren was out there, John Hufford and Mike Hufford and them guys, and Maxie Warren, he was always kind of a fun guy, you know. And, John Hufford, he dropped his pie going back with his lunch, so they took this pie and put it on John Hufford's head, and they just kind of mixed it around. And Max Warren had a comb in his pocket, which most of the guys didn't have them days, and he combed it all out, and he was slicked down. He laid up there and watched it. They tell jokes too, like
Oh,
we
yeah,
did, you
yeah,
know.
they tell
and,
jokes.
Hot
they-
ones.
They had a lot of fun. They drank homemade beer, and they
My
had this
dad
190
does
proof,
Everything homemade.
Yeah.
190 proof liquor is what they served
Yeah.
then.
But we
They
also,
got louder too as they went along and had a few more shots, you know.
Root beer, a lot of root beer, yeah.
I think they drank more than some of us.
they
did.
drank their share. Yes, they had their fun. Yes, they did. They had their fun
You had to relax.
And sing.
and sing.
They would
Sure.
sing.
Oh.
After,
Yeah, they sing.
after a little while, they would start singing. And
Florian
harmonize-
Axman
and harmonize,
was a fun guy too. You
Who's
know,
that?
he's more quiet. Florian Axman.
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't picture him.
Well, one day it was my mother's birthday, and it's just right after a storm, and he pulled up in front of the door, and he opened the door, and he said, "Happy birthday," and he shut the door and went out and left and went home. My gosh, now how come he took off? Well, that evening they come over then and see what we're doing. And he just left. And he had a long ways to go. He was about 4 miles across. He was just out driving. Oh, they had their fun too. We used to
yeah.
drive to church 7 miles. Well, we did that in our 7 miles. You had to leave an hour early to get there, you know. And There was usually a sleigh road pretty good all the way, because there were too many guys driving cars in them days.
Even in our day, we drove with the bus to church quite a few years ago.
Yeah, even in our
Where
days, yeah.
Cars couldn't go. I mean,
Then they opened the bars up. There was 2 bars in Balta at that time. And there was nothing else traveling, you know, and the roads are open there. Nobody knew those bars were open. Everybody had a drink out before they went home.
We didn't.
After church, oh, we didn't. We didn't, but the older guys did. Well, yeah, I guess we did. Yeah.
We didn't have a drink.
We didn't
before
never
we went to
spend
church.
that much time down there.
And especially not after church, we never did.
Yeah. Well, all the open bars. Vince and Sean had one bar, I think.
We had kids along,
I
and you
forget
didn't
who
go in the
the
bar.
other one was.
You
In fact, there was 3 bars.
Well, it must have been a healthy way to live. You guys raised
Well, where we
families
went
and-
to the dances, you know, when we were growing up, and we're still going together anyway. That Pete Black's place, I don't know if you remember that.
No,
It's
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
you
dance-
the
remember.
Farmers
dances
Union
upstairs.
Station
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
where they danced. That's where I met him.
That had the dance
Yeah.
floor up on the 2nd floor.
Yeah,
That's where I met him.
Yeah.
that was a
That's the
popular
time when
place
they
for
had,
dances.
Every week. Every week.
Homebrew was sold
And didn't we wait for that weekend?
Yeah, did we wait for that weekend? Every
sly,
weekend
on the
they
sly.
danced.
It was closed. There was no open liquor, you know, that time. Prohibition, anyway. And you could buy a Mickey, you know, for $1, you know, and then they'd drink it straight with, they'd take a sip of water and a sip of straight 190, and then some more water. It didn't burn at all.
They hoped.
See, you wet your mouth with water,
Yeah.
take a sip, and then right away some water behind it. It didn't burn at all.
It went down, huh?
It went straight out.
Didn't burn down there either, did it?
As long as you remember which one to take first.
Yeah,
They
then
always had big crowds on.
we had a
those
few
dances.
fights down at them days, you know, the Shawns and I forget who it was. There was always guys that, you know,
Yeah, I sat in the chair.
they're bickering a little, you know, they always needed attention. Yeah, there was a lot of young guys around at that time.
There were a
all
lot
the-
of young people
Yeah,
there. When there was a dance,
Everybody
the
had
place
a
was
big
filled up.
family and the dances were filled up, you
Yeah,
know.
a lot of people. That's where we all got together and had fun.
What was Johnny?
In them days, you know, when you go to a dance, why, you had to have,
The what?
What was Rose?
ask somebody for a dance, you'd sometimes get 5 fingers, the 5th dance, you know.
Silly and Rose Giesinger.
That's how scarce the girls
Well,
were.
Mrs. Johnny Giesinger, what was her name?
You know, you get 3 fingers too. All of a sudden, you got 5
Trying to
fingers.
think
Ooh,
if that's what it
I remember that long.
What did the finger, did she tell you 5?
Yeah. Can have a dance, and she'd give you 1, 2, or 3, whatever. You know, you had to wait for that
How
many
could
times.
you remember that?
Girls
Well, we did.
remember.
We
It
did.
wasn't John, was it?
Heck, I
They
never
were
did
But,
that.
from over here. No,
How many times did you
I
give him
know
the
the
finger?
name, but I can't-
Once.
I wasn't listening to what he was saying.
He stuck
3.
around. He stuck around.
What
I
did you
didn't take the
say?
hint either, huh?
Oh, I said that about the girls were, you know, you always had to, ask for a dance, and
Oh.
sometimes you get 3 fingers, sometimes you get 4, you know.
Oh.
You didn't, do you wanna,
Gee, they wasn't so all boring back in those days.
do you wanna tell us, like, what your families know? You can tell them on the tape, you wanna,
Oh, you're older, you tell your family.
what, your children?
Who they
My-
married
have,
to?
and, you know,
We can start the oldest one down and tell them what they do.
Well,
Age-wise,
yeah, well, you can.
oh, you can tell, you
just
know how
change it
old
to
your
say,
kids are, don't you?
Yeah.
Turn it off.
Let Ray tell.
You're on.
Who's on?
I'm on.
You-
I'm on.
Go ahead, say it.
are you
Well,
on?
I'll just tell my family, our family. The oldest one, Janice, got married to
Gerald Nora,
Gerald Knorr, and they have 3 boys,
poor boy.
4 boys. The oldest one is married and have 2 great-granddaughters. It's Kevin, he's married, and then there's Alan, he's a dentist, and Steve, well,
He's an inventor.
Pastor, he's an inventor, yeah, and Brian, he's just finished college, so he's going to be a CPA. And then there's Daryl.
Just the names.
Oh,
Harold and Joan.
Daryl, just a name. And then
And
there's
then they don't have children.
married to Joni Beltari, and then there's Bernetta married to Alfred Hammond, and Larry is married. He isn't married. He was married, but he's divorced. And then it's Laverne, married to Roger Duckshire, and Jerry is married to Charlene Kessel. And Wayne is married to Myra Thiel. And Vernon is divorced. And Karen is married to Mark Hagel, and Denise is married to Rich Eiliff. And then this Curtis is married to Cheryl Wiedemeyer, and Keith to Pam. What is her last name?
What's her last
Can't think of it.
Can't think of it.
Can't think of her
Any
name.
grandchildren?
We have 25 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren.
Okay. Now on in.
Well, you didn't mention the birthdays now, so the rest of
No,
the
she hasn't got enough tape anymore.
Not enough tape anymore.
Just mention all the kids and their stuff.
Clem and I had
What's her last name?
Oh, yeah.
raised the 11 children. The oldest one, Mary Magdalene, is married to Charlie Smith. Raymond Volk is married to Rosie Enoch. Rosie Lee Volk is married to Lee Straver. Barbara Volk is married to Willard Patterson. Sylvia Volk is married to Randy Squires, and then Jeanette Martina is married to Darn Crone. Lorraine Kathleen is married to Daryl Altapeter. Renus Volk is married to Mike Brosard. Sheila Volk is married to Sherry Ingram. Ron is married to Cheryl Molly. And Laura is married to Cherry Bradley. I have 39 grandchildren and 9 great-grandchildren. For more information, we have it here.
By the roses in the valley of the moon, we can lost my heart. See what I mean?
It's too high.
Roses in the valley of the moon, we kissed and said goodbye. She cried and so did I. Now do you wonder why I'm lonely? Then we'll meet again by the roses in the valley of the moon.
You got some more? Let's see your sweetheart.
Go ahead, keep going.
Let's sing what?
Sweetheart.
Sweetheart? Oh, what do you mean? Which one? Good. When it's
Springtime in the Rockies,
I'm coming back to you, little
sweetheart of the mountains, with your bonny eyes so blue. Once again I'll say that I Can't you see I'm sorry for the mistake I made? Can't you see I'm proud, dear? Can't you see I'm forgiving? Take me back in your heart. How can I go on living now that we're apart? If you knew what I've been through, you would only I ask you, have you ever been lonely? Have you ever been blue?
How can we compete?
Licks mir im Sinn, du, machst mir viel Schmerzen, weiß nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Ja, weiß nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Bin ich noch ledig, west ich mir so wohl gewesst, ist es mein Lebenstag nimmer so wohl. Ist es mein Lebenstag nimmer so wohl. Stiefel muss sterben und ist noch so jung. Stiefel muss sterben und ist noch so jung. Wann ist der Absatz, wisst das der Stiefel sterben muss. Stiefel muss sterben und ist noch so jung. Drei rote Rosen hab ich gefunden. Skap sie abgerupft, sie sind verschwunden. Aber du alleine bist meine Freude. Schon stau niemand auf dieser Welt. Aber du alleine bist meine Freude. Schon stau niemand auf dieser Welt. Hochzeit der guter Engel, nach der Hochzeit ein grober Bengel, aber du alleine bist meine Freude, schon stau niemand mehr auf dieser Welt.
Vor der Hochzeit, da kommt
Der Kuchen, nach der Hochzeit, da kommt das Fluchen, aber du alleine bist meine Freude, schon stau niemand mehr auf dieser Welt.
You know what that said? You know what that was? Before the wedding, there come the kuchen, and after the wedding, there come the flu. Then you start cussing. See? Before the wedding, you should go to angel, not go to angel. You know, if they're going to come to bang, then comes the stick. See?
Well, we won't know unless we understand German.
What?
Well, we won't know unless we understand
Well,
German.
that's
Weren't
what
you
I
cussing
said.
in German?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
German. That, you know, that's
Sprecht du
German.
nicht Deutsch?
But that's what
So
it means.
bis ist aber nicht gut.
Aber nicht
Nicht
gut.
so gut, aber nicht so gut.
Komm mir sagen, was wir wollen, ha?
Was?
Dann können wir sagen, was wir wollen.
Ja,
Verstehst du doch nicht.
nicht gut.
Im Bohle steht ein Haus, im Bohle steht ein bohlisches Haus. Schifferlein, bohlisches Haus, im Bohle steht ein bohlisches
Everybody
Haus.
join.
Wer wohnt denn in dem Haus? Wer wohnt denn in dem bohlischen Haus? Schifferlein, bohlisches Haus. Wer wohnt denn in dem bohlischen Haus? Der wohnt in dem Haus. Der wird, der wohnt in dem bohlisches Haus. Schifferlein, bohlisches Haus. Der wohnt in dem bohlischen Haus. Der hat ein Mann. Der wird, der hat ein bohlische Mark. Schifferlein, bohlische Mark. Wird, der hat ein bohlische Mark. Die Mark, die hat ein Kind. Die Mark, die hat ein bohlisches Kind. kind, juxaira, schifferlein, bollisches Kind. Die mag die hat ein bollisches Kind. Sie schickt das Kind in der Schuh. Sie schickt das Kind in der bollische Schuh. Juxaira, schifferlein, bollische Schuh. Schickt das Kind in der bollische Schuh. Was lernt das Kind in der Schuh? Was lernt das Kind in der bollische Schuh? Juxaira, schifferlein, bollische Schuh. Was lernt das Kind in der bollische Schuh?
Das Kind,
Das lernt das Kind, das lernt bollische ja. Juxaira, schifferlein, bollische ja. Das Kind, das lernt bollische ABC.
Good. There. Boy, when they see that, it's like, what crazy people.
Oh, you guys were wonderful. Very good.
You get a different slant of our lives.
We're not the quiet people you think. If we weren't the quiet people you think we are.
Oh, let's look at your picture.
I
Get
just
down, pick it up
wanted
with
to
some coffee.
go yet, because I knew the end would be something.
Oh.
That's enough.
Yeah.
That's pretty much.